commissioners online. If you could please turn on your camera so we can get started.
The California Youth Empowerment Commission meeting is called to order at 9:34 a.m. on Saturday, July 26th in Chico, California. As we begin today's meeting, we are excited to welcome a new commissioner, Citlali Castellanos from Salinas, California. We have set aside time for more introductions during Director Wallace's review of the agenda, but for now, Citlali, we are thrilled to welcome you to the Youth Empowerment Commission. Next, we also want to reiterate a couple of our standard reminders to start this meeting. First, we are providing interpretation services to Spanish in person and online for this meeting. If you are speaking at today's meeting as a commissioner, presenter, panelist, or a member of the public delivering public comment, we ask that you please speak a bit more slowly so our interpreters can follow along. Second, as we continue to engage guest speakers, presenters, and the public, we want to name that the information and opinions expressed by presenters or public commenters before the Commission reflect the views of the speaker. They do not necessarily represent the views of the Commission or the Governor's Office of Service and Community Engagement. Finally, as a reminder, as a public body, public comment is critical to the work of the Commission, and we allow public input at all meetings. However, we stand united with other Californians in condemning hate and recognizing the harms that hate causes. A hate act is a hostile expression or action committed, in whole or in part, because of a person's actual or perceived identities or characteristics, including race, color, disability, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender, including gender identity, and or because that person is a part of a protected group. The rich diversity among our population in California is one of our state's greatest assets, and we are committed to supporting and protecting all people in California. As a reminder, if you are a victim or witness to hate, racism, or bullying, you can report the incident and receive free support through the California vs. Hate resource line. The hotline will help you identify next steps and help connect you to resources including legal, financial, mental health, and mediation services. Report hate by calling 833-8-NO-HATE or visiting cavshate.org. We are honored to be here in Chico today, and we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the indigenous nations whose land on which we gather today. The following land acknowledgement has been adapted from Chico State. We acknowledge that the city of Chico sits on the ancestral lands of the Mecoopta people. The Mecoopta Indian tribe is a federally recognized nation comprising approximately 560 tribal members. Today, we honor and recognize the enduring presence, cultural heritage, and contributions of the Mecoopta people, past, present, and future. We extend our gratitude to the Mecoopta tribe for their stewardship of these traditional lands and acknowledge their sovereignty, resilience, and ongoing rich culture and their contributions to our community. As we gather here, we reaffirm our commitment to learning from the Mecoopta, their tribe, and all indigenous peoples, in respecting and honoring their sacred lands. Our agenda for this meeting covers 8 agenda items. We have hard copies of the agenda and other relevant meeting materials available in the room. Materials are also available online at youthempowermentca.gov/meetings-events. Director Wallace, can you please provide a brief overview of the agenda for this meeting?
Thank you, Chair Wednesday. I will review the agenda. However, I do want to share a few more details about our newest commission member, Cislali Castellanos. We are very excited to have you here with us today. Cislali represents the Monterey Bay area. She primarily works with the unhoused population, serving as a community outreach assistant. She is passionate about serving her community through empathy and understanding, and deeply believes in education as a method of empowerment. Cislali, we are excited for your voice, for your impact, and we are happy to have you here. Please help me welcome Cislali. For the agenda today, it has been a long time coming. We definitely appreciate you all for the past few months in meeting and workshopping to get to a final review of our strategic plan today. So we are getting started with a welcome, public comments on matters that are not listed on the agenda. We will not be taking action items today as we do not have quorum. That will be further explained by another one of our staff members. However, we will review the selection of our commission logo. We started this conversation a few months back. We will be presenting options to the commission to choose from for logos that really speaks to and represent the commission and who we are. We will then break for 10 minutes and reconvene to have eyes on the first draft of that strategic plan. We will break again for lunch and reconvene to have eyes on the community engagement plan, really understanding how do we want to engage with community, what feedback are we looking for from community as we really enter that process. Professor Lerman from the Possibility Lab will give an update on the Youth Priority Survey. Again, as we're thinking of engaging with young people, other youth commissions and councils throughout the state, what do we want to prioritize with their expertise and experience? We will then move to next steps for action for staff, and then adjournment. Just kidding. I will give an update on quorum. We do not meet the in-person quorum requirement to achieve any voting today. Therefore, we will not be voting on the consent agenda or selection of the commission logo, which were both noted as action items. However, we will have a discussion. Staff will take that discussion and feedback, but we will not be able to vote due to the quorum restraints.
Today, we may be joined throughout this meeting by several distinguished guests, and we would like to recognize any in attendance with us today.
So I know that we have a few. I will welcome them all and then offer the opportunity for remarks. First, joining us, we have Councilmember Bryce Goldstein, representing District 7, council member for the city of Chico. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We also have Jessica Harrington, Director of Campaign Initiatives and Advocacy for CSU Chico, who is joining us via Zoom. Welcome, Jessica Harrington. We're also joined by Supervisor Tammy Ritter of Butte County District 3. We have an introduction for Councilmember Goldstein. So I will read this before remarks. Councilmember Goldstein has prepared remarks for our meeting today, so we would like to invite her up to the podium as we share a bit around, to share a bit around her work background. Councilmember Bryce Goldstein works as a transportation planner and spends her free time bicycling, volunteering, and playing music. She is passionate about increasing transportation safety, affordable housing, climate action, arts and culture, and government transparency. Prior to City Council, she served as a Planning Commissioner and Climate Action Commissioner, and she also served as the community on the Butte Environmental Council Boards of Directors. Councilmember Goldstein holds a BS in Environmental Science, Energy and Climate from Humboldt State University, and a certificate in high-speed and intercity rail management from San Jose State University. Welcome, Councilmember Goldstein.
Thank you for having me. All right. So I don't know, you found that all somewhere, and I love that, so I don't have to read half of my remarks. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm Bryce Goldstein. I serve on the Chico City Council, and I was elected this past November, and I'm lucky enough to get to serve with 2 other young people on our city council. So there's 3 of us out of 7. Yeah, a little of my background and how I ended up in local government. As mentioned, I went to Humboldt State University. I studied environmental science, and after that, I was looking for a job where I could make an impact in my community and in my world at a point in time in 2016 where things were starting to get a little weird for people who'd studied climate change. I ended up, thankfully, getting a job at the city of Chico through AmeriCorps through a program called Civic Spark. I enjoyed a lot of aspects of this program, but there were also some difficulties, mainly with the fact that our city leadership, the mayor, didn't believe in climate change, things like that really impact when you are a 21-year-old, basically, intern trying to make change in your community. So it was a little bit of an uphill battle sometimes, but I got to work with really good people in our community. And from there, I ended up getting connected with Butte Environmental Council and moving into the job that the field that I've been in for a long time in transportation planning. I got involved in transportation planning because I believe that it's so important that we have access for everybody to get where they need to go in a sustainable and affordable way, and to have communities with enough housing for everybody. So I kind of kept staying involved in the city after I worked for them through AmeriCorps. Sometimes that looked like me coming up to the podium at city council and being frustrated, and sometimes that meant me being involved volunteering in my community. So from there, I decided that there was more that I could do. And my journey to actually running for city council was a little maybe roundabout. But one of the things, as I mentioned, that really inspired me to run for local government was not only this need, not only this longstanding frustration with the way that our current city council operated, but also the fact that I saw fellow young people stepping up. Around 2020, my friend Lauren Kohler ran for council, and then in 2022, my friend Addison ran and won, and then in 2024, my friend Katie Hawley, who was 23 at the time, and I was 29, we both ran and we won. So now we have 3 young leaders on our city council who want to make a change. Yeah. So we don't make all the decisions in this town. We're still kind of in a political minority, but we have a voice and we have power. And if we had just one more person who really supports our initiatives, not even a young person, but that would be great, then we can make so much change in this community to make it better, make more affordable housing, address homelessness issues, and make our transportation system safer, more accessible, and more sustainable. But right now, we're working towards that. We're having to work uphill sometimes, across party lines, but we're getting there. But on a national level, people are feeling really let down and betrayed by politics. And that's kind of where I started around 2016 when I worked for the city. And that dampened my desire to run for anything for a long time. But when I saw so many cool young people stepping up, I decided it was time. So I just want to say we need more youth leadership in this country and locally. And I feel really inspired to see you all participating and stepping up. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Goldstein. Before our next distinguished guest speaks, I do want to make mention that we were fortunate to be hosted by the Boys and Girls Club of Chico last night for a community listening session. And Bryce, you might as well have been in the room because that was a lot of the energy that came up, that frustration, seriously, that is driving our young leaders to step up and channeling that in a way of service and being a public servant to make sure that our systems are shifting in a way that includes youth voice, and to channel that frustration into empowerment. So thank you for your message and for being here today. Yes. Ms. Harrington has also prepared remarks for the commission. We would like to welcome her to come off mute at this time, and thank you for being here as well.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, everyone. It truly is a deep honor to be here with you, all of you young leaders who are stepping into the work of changing lives, communities, and ultimately the future of California. I want to take just a brief moment to talk about myself and my background, but I really want to spend my time to focus on the power of change that you all have in your hands right now as being part of this commission. So as was stated earlier, I'm the Director of Campaign Initiatives and Advocacy for Chico State. And in my role, I advocate for Chico State students and programs and the positive impact our institution has in our community, region, and state. Chico State is proud to have the distinction of being a Hispanic serving institution, and the majority of our students are first-generation college students, and many are high need when it comes to financial support. Advocating for their needs, as well as the needs of our rural communities in the North State, truly is a privilege for me and something that I'm proud to do, as I am a first-generation college student myself. Before working in higher education, I worked in nonprofit, focusing on the needs of health care and federally qualified health centers, providing services to migratory farm workers and migratory dairy workers all across the country. Before that, I was involved in multiple community organizations, and I've always had a drive to speak for those that are often left out of conversations and to provide a voice and perspective for somebody who has lived experiences when policy is being made to support those experiences, sometimes without truly understanding what it's like to walk in those people's shoes. So I'm here today, not just as a speaker or someone engaged with advocacy on a professional level, but also as someone who has walked a path filled with obstacles and moments when I felt invisible in systems that I didn't feel were built for me. I imagine that, like some of you, and definitely the populations that you are providing a voice for, I came from a place where struggle was familiar and power felt very far away. But over the years and through my professional growth and the community outreach I've done, I've learned some things. One is that you don't need a title to be powerful. You don't need a podium to make change, and you don't have to see yourself as political to be a force for justice. You've all been appointed to this commission, not just to represent youth, but to amplify the voices of those who've been silenced. You are here to shape policy, advise decision makers, and demand equity for youth who've been overlooked for far too long. But I want you to remember that this commission is not just about policy, it's about possibility. Your ideas, your lived experiences, they all have the power to influence how California responds to its biggest challenges. Whether it's reimagining housing so no young person sleeps on the streets, confronting the climate crisis so future generations can thrive, or reshaping cultural and community spaces so every voice feels seen and valued, you are not just part of the conversation, you are all driving it. And the truth is this: local government needs you now more than ever, not just to speak, but to lead, to co-create solutions, to build bridges between the communities you come from and the institutions making decisions about them. And here's the secret: you all have the tools. Your stories are your strength, your voice is your vehicle, and your vision is the blueprint we need. And I want you to remember that advocacy doesn't only happen in the halls of government. It happens around dinner tables, in classrooms, in text threads. Every moment you choose to speak your truth, every time you share your experience and advocate for others, you are not just telling your story, you are paving a smoother road for someone coming behind you. So I encourage you all to speak boldly, to ask the hard questions, and to challenge the status quo, because the decisions made in this room won't just change policies, they will change lives. And I promise you this, that the future of California will be a brighter, stronger, and more just state because of all the work that you're doing. I'm truly inspired by all of you, and I feel so honored that you asked me here today, and I just wish you all the best of luck as you start on this journey and really make change. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington, for the powerful message, speaking to the importance of advocacy, lived experience, and youth power is something that this commission and staff resonates with and truly leads from, so thank you for that. I'm going to offer an opportunity for Supervisor Tammy Ritter to also share remarks. No? She says no. We thank you for being here today. Truly, we appreciate all of the support from all of us. Thank you for being here. To all of our distinguished guests. If there are any other elected officials, leaders, or staff representing an elected official, we would like for you to also either unmute or approach the podium with any remarks that you may have. We'll wait for a pause. Okay, as shared, we thank our leaders who have shared their support with this commission today, either through themselves or any staff members. We are appreciative of your support, and we look forward to building partnerships in service of youth empowerment and inclusion through this state. We know that this work is truly only accomplished in partnership and community, so thank you for being here today.
We will now conduct roll call to formally note whether we do or do not have quorum and provide an overview of the public comment process. Beth Gashaw, External and Legislative Affairs Associate at GoServe, will lead the roll call and provide this overview. Beth, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you and good morning. We will now commence roll call. Commissioner Acosta Parra. Present. Commissioner Butoria. Commissioner Castellanos.
Present.
Commissioner Chung Lee. Commissioner De La Maggiore. Commissioner Lin Tostado.
Present.
Commissioner Merrill. Commissioner McCarthy. Commissioner Mee.
Present.
Commissioner Morris. Commissioner Poe.
Present.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Present.
Commissioner Ramraj.
Present.
Commissioner Terrones.
Present.
Commissioner Weinstock.
Present.
And Commissioner Yee.
Present.
Okay, thank you. And
Beth, I want to make mention that
yes.
Commissioner McCarthy is present online. His Zoom was frozen.
Okay. I thought I saw him there.
I'm present. I moved around. I am present. I had some Wi-Fi issues. Apologies.
No worries. Okay. Okay, excellent. We have 8 out of 16 voting commissioners with us today, with 5 of these commissioners in person and 3 online. As stated earlier, we do not have a quorum today, as we do not have the minimum 7 out of 13 voting commissioners in person attendance that is required. Please note that Commissioners Jocelyn, Andrea, and Colin are following the teleconference rules for advisory bodies outlined under Government Code Section 11123.5, which allows members to participate remotely. And I believe we can switch to the public comment introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who is joining us today in person and or online. I'm here to provide guidance for the process of this hybrid meeting, which we have designed with the intention of maximizing access by members of the public. Please note that we are providing Spanish interpretation services in person and online for this meeting. For those joining the webinar via Zoom or by phone, please note that your microphone is automatically muted when you join. To minimize the risk of background noise, you will not be able to unmute yourself. For those joining online via Zoom, please note that the webinar platform does not enable video for attendees, so we will not be able to see you. If you need technical assistance during the meeting or have any questions about the meeting process, there are a few ways to contact us. If you are online via Zoom, the best way is to utilize the Q&A function, which is monitored by a few of the team members. If you joined over the phone and you have access to email, please email youthempowermentcommission@opr.ca.gov. To make an in-person public comment, you can pick up the comment card at the back of the room and return it to one of our staff members. You will need to submit a public comment card for each item you wish to speak on. If you plan to make public comments virtually, you must be online via Zoom, either through the webinar or phone option. To submit an online public comment form, please visit the youthempowerment.ca.gov/meetings-events tab website and complete the public comment form linked there. Again, you will need to submit a separate form for each item you wish to speak on. You may complete a form at any time during the meeting. When Chair Pope opens a public comment period for your item, we will call your name. When you hear your name, please raise your hand. To do this online in the Zoom webinar, please click Raise Hand under the Participants menu. To raise your hand over the phone, please press *9. When it's your turn to speak, a member of our team will unmute your microphone. If you're online, you will see a window pop up alerting you the host is unmuting you. You will then need to click the option to unmute, after which you can begin your comment. If you are online via your phone, you will hear a recorded message alerting you that your line is unmuted, and you can begin your comment once your line is unmuted. Each speaker will have a maximum of 2 minutes to make their remarks. Speakers requiring the use of interpretation services are allotted 4 minutes to facilitate full participation. If you're online, you'll see a timer pop up on your screen. Please monitor that and conclude your remarks accordingly. Whether you're online or via phone, Chair Pope or staff will notify you when your time is up. After that, we will mute your microphone. You do not need to take any additional action. If you are unable to complete the online form but would like to make a public comment, please email the team. Thanks again for your attention, and back to you, Chair Pope.
Thank you. We will now take any public comments related to agenda item number 1. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. We do have one in-person commenter, Jess Mercer.
Nope.
And I don't believe there's any virtual public comments at this time. So in person, individual, when you hear your name, please line up by the podium in the order of your name was called, and then you will be called individually at the podium to speak.
I think, yeah.
Oh, pardon me. I believe I was just notified that was for agenda item number 2. Excuse me, Chair Pope, we do not have any comments in person or virtually for agenda item number 1. Thank you so much.
The Commission will now take public comment for matters not on the agenda. This is not a forum for dialogue with the Commissioners. Questions posed by the public during this item cannot be substantively addressed or discussed at this meeting. Any required follow-up can be directed to Youth Empowerment Commission Executive Director Tamisha Wallace. As a reminder, public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker.
I'm glad there's a timer because I'm going to start. Hi, my name is Jess Mercer. I've worked in this community, Butte County, all the way down to Santa Rosa, all the way up to Medford, Oregon. I am a trauma specialist. I don't know what that means, but that is what people call me. For 21 years, I've worked in juvenile halls. I've worked in group homes. I currently work in grant writing and help support nonprofits and schools, especially after the town that I grew up in, Paradise, was brought down to 96% of pure demolishment after a fire. I have held hair dryers on people that are cold on pallets in tents in parking lots, all the way to sitting in FEMA trailers and trying to help kids doing art projects the best that I could, and then all the way to writing a $1.2 million grant to bring our homeless and our homeschool population together up on the ridge, because isolation, as you know, leads to devastation. So at the last minute, I thought I was going to come in here, and I'm super energized, which is just normal, fun facts. But What I thought I was going to talk about is different because last night I was also in a space that I love, which is the Boys and Girls Club, which totally needs to be funded. Okay, that's just my opinion. But the second part is that I thought I was going to leave at 5:30 and I left at 8 because what those kids told me is there is not a baton that gets passed between the moment that they say, I need help, and someone helps them. So a tattoo on my neck that says, hey, I had a really tough past. I had a lot of suicide ideations. I have a semicolon right here. I had a kid come up to me and say, I need to talk to you. So for 5:30 to 8, I stood with that kid because there are not resources in Butte County that I could call that I knew that that child on a Friday at 5:30 who was scared to go home was going to be safe. So I thought I was going to come in here and say something different, but with the last 14 seconds, I really hope that you entertain suicide prevention, innovative, different types of people approaching it, that I don't have a lot of letters after my name, but what I do know is we need to do it differently, so please fund that.
This concludes public comment for this item. Back to you, Chair Wednesday.
Thank you for your comment. We will now transition to agenda item number 3, the consent agenda, which consists of one item, approval of May 17, 2025 meeting minutes. Since we do not have quorum today, we will table the vote to a future meeting. We will still engage in the commission discussion and public comment section of this agenda item. Are there any comments, questions, or discussion from the commission? Seeing as there are no comments, questions, or discussion from the commission, we will now acknowledge any follow-up required by staff to move forward and plan to have our consent move to our following meeting. We will now take any public comment related to this agenda item.
Thank you. There is no in-person or virtual comment for this particular item. Thank you, Chair Pope.
We will now move on to the selection of our commission logo. For this agenda item, Director Wallace will present both round and horizontal design options for an updated commission logo. In a future meeting, the commission will be asked to vote to select one round logo design option and one horizontal logo design option. Similar to our previous agenda item, we will engage in the commission discussion and public comment section of this agenda item. We will table the vote to a future meeting when we are able to achieve quorum.
Thank you, Chair Pope. So the commission logo, I was in conversation with a commissioner about this discussion, and they're like, we have a logo. Yes, we do. This, what you see in front of you here, is the current Youth Empowerment Commission logo that was essentially created to establish a brand. Gave us a color palette, really introduced ourselves to the state. This is what folks really understand us to be now. However, we wanted to really engage the commission in a logo that you all felt represented you, that reflected the state, that reflected youth empowerment. So we wanted to really build that out and explore what that feels and looks like to you all. Next slide, please. So the two options that you see here were the first round logos that were created. Our chair and vice chair, Wednesday and Aiden, had eyes on these two logos and gave some high-level feedback around what could be shifted or what could be included to, again, make sure that these logos are reflective of the commission. The round logo that you see here on the left, some of their notes were to make youth a bit more bold, as that is the emphasis of who we are and who we're advocating for and speaking on behalf of. And then to include some color options. What does this look like to add some dynamic colors that represents the commission? For the horizontal logo, How can we build in California to be captured, to also be reflective that although there are so many youth councils and commissions throughout the state, how do we distinguish ourselves as the commission that is connected to the government at the state level? The lines in this logo also represents energy. So if not the lines, what are other ways that we can really capture that energy in the movement and dynamic power of the commission was also another source of feedback, and also to include some color options. Next slide, please. So this is the color palette that we've currently been working from. All of our commission meeting materials, you see these colors reflected, as well as our website design. So we are using these colors as the primary color block for the logo design as well, to stay in alignment with the current logo. Next slide, please. So from the commission's feedback, both our chair and vice chair, these are the options that our comms team has provided to us. As you see with option 1A, it is just a black and white logo with youth more bold, as described in that first slide. And then options 1A are those same logos, just with various color options. Options 1B is another, we're referring to the round logo as a seal. Also has youth more bold, and as opposed to those lines, stars, I don't know what we want to call those, the glistening, as Commissioner Jessica shared, sparkles, yeah. So that option has the sparkles as opposed to those lines. You still see the lines present as well, but the sparkles are stars as well. With option 1B having the same logo, just with color variation. We will pause here before moving to the horizontal to see commissioners' thoughts, feelings. How do you all feel about youth being bold? It also includes the California outline. Does it feel like too much? Is there any other recommendations that you all have on the black and white? Let's start there and then move to the color options.
I have a quick clarifying question. Are both of these logos going to be used in different formats, or are we choosing one, like circle or rectangle?
Great question. We're choosing one seal option and then one horizontal. The horizontal will be on the website, the seal more so on any if we have our tablecloths, any other things that we might want to put, a hat, any clothing, any materials that we want to provide to community. So any thoughts on option 1A? Do you all feel that this is reflective of who we are and the charge that we have to the state and to the youth of our state?
I, just as a design preference, really enjoy the starburst shapes because I feel like it does kind of convey more energy in that way. It also just artistically kind of adds a little bit more complexity and I guess more of a dynamic feel to the logo. This is my personal opinion. I feel like it emphasizes the California side of it, but also the empowerment, looking at the fists that are standing up. It creates a more like cohesive image in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree that 1.B in the color option speaks to me the most as the most visually appealing, as well as kind of having some more uniformity within the colors. Like all the words are in black, whereas the other elements have their own color. So I prefer that to the color options in 1A, whereas it seems the colors are not as aligned.
I would like to propose, I also agree that the 1B color option is realistically the most visually appealing. I would like to propose that the California symbol perhaps switch the gold in the outer lines of the seal with the red, and then instead place the gold as the California symbol, seeing as like the golden bear is kind of our state symbol and our state animal. I think that would be a good signifier. But what does the commission think about that proposal?
I like the idea. I just am looking at option 1A, and the red lines are not necessarily the most appealing to me. So I'm not sure. I guess I don't know if I can visually see it. I do like the gold state outline, but I'm not sure if like the red would be best for the outlines.
I do want to confirm that that is orange as well.
Oh,
It looks
sorry,
a little
orange.
red. It looks a little red, to be fair. But the color that you all are speaking to is orange.
I might be in the minority here, but I prefer the black and white seal options, specifically option 1.B. And I think when I think of a seal, I think of something that's all one color, but that color can be colorful. Like, so it doesn't have to be black, but if the seal were in a different color, if it were gold, for example, it would all be the same color, or if it was all orange or all green. Like, when I imagine a seal on a piece of paper, usually it's not the components are different colors, but rather like the entire seal is one color, but it can be different things. So in terms of when we talk about colorful options, for this circular option, I would prefer it always be in one color. And then for the horizontal block, which I know we're not talking about yet, but that's where I feel like personally, where having different components be different colors makes more sense to me.
This is an odd take, well, not even odd, actually. This is more of a sustainable take on my part. Color ink is expensive. I know that that's not exactly a huge factor, but I know other people, when they are printing these things at home, if they want to print their own materials, et cetera, it is a consideration. If we do add the colors in there, it may cause some issues with the way that the logo will look as they print it. It'll make it more gray than black. So just for our seal, especially since it's going to be primarily on our paperwork, I do kind of second what Vice Chair Aiden had said about the black and white logo. I do feel like it gets across exactly what we're trying to get across. And we can always choose a color option for our horizontal logo as well if we want to have that on our website and have that be more of the vibe that we're giving out on our website. But as for more like official paperwork and other things of that nature, it may be good to just have the black and white logo.
I share that feeling. When you have one color, sorry, I remember my echo. One color means unity. Different colors go with different affiliations, but when you have one color, it shows unity of everyone.
I also prefer the black and white. To me personally, the option kind of for both, what's inside the circle kind of feels a little like disoriented, just because I feel like there's a lot going on inside the circle. I'm not sure if it's because of like the fists and like the state outline and then like the sparkles. To me, it kind of feels like there's like a lot going on. When I think of a seal, I think of it's bold and it gets the message across like in kind of just one glance you see it and you get it. And to me, it's like I kind of have to keep looking at it to figure it out. But the outside is fine. The inside to me kind of feels like a little like there's a lot going on.
I want to echo a little bit about what Andrea just said. I know at first when we're looking at the options, I wasn't too much of a fan of option 1A and 1B, but I think with option 1.B, the color option, there is a lot going on between the fists and the sparkles and then the outline of the state of California. I think if we were to go with all three elements, I think option 1.B, black and white, is a little bit more cohesive. You see all three elements in one color. There's not a lot going on. It's just simpler for the eye to take. Option 1.A, I don't know, this is just me, but like right above like that line in California, there's just like this little empty space, that I'm not quite sure what my eye wants to do with. So if we were to go with the black and white option, I really do think it's easier for the eye to capture. The message is more cohesive. I would say option 1.B, black and white, but I wouldn't necessarily say the same for the color option because there's so much going on So personally, I see myself leaning more towards the black and white option 1.B.
I very much agree with you, Commissioner Adelina. Specifically, when I looked at option 1.A, the first thing I saw was the negative space, and that definitely threw off my interpretation of it. But I feel like even just a simple tweak of moving the fist that's on top up and to the left a little bit more, so it kind of occupies that space more, might get rid of the negative space, but also simplify and not have as much stuff going on with the sparkles. But if the sparkles are something that people want in it to convey the youth and convey the movement, then that's something I could get behind as well. But I feel like if the commission were to go with option 1.A, I would like to ask or recommend that the comm staff try to find a way to make that space look a little less awkward.
Would it potentially be possible to add an additional fist, but make all of the fists slightly smaller so that it's kind of equalized with the size of California? I know
That was
seems
going to be
little
my question to you all is, and I know we can't vote, so I'm trying to choose my words here, but for those who feel like that negative space needs to be occupied, if not the stars, the shimmer, what would you all propose there? Or is it the movement of the fist, as Aiden recommended?
I think that balancing, I really think that this gets across our message, which is youth empowerment of California. Having the California symbol kind of symbolizes that we are a California commission, but I think that adding more fists, as many as possible. I'm kidding. But I think that maybe adding an additional fist and just balancing the size of those two logos would be helpful, just to create a little bit more balance in the image altogether. And I feel like that won't make it as intense as some commissioners had mentioned, where there's a lot going on inside the circle. It'll just make it a very simple image. I'm going to be honest with you, the stars are somewhat lost on me. I'm looking for meaning in them. I like it. I like how it fills the negative space, but I feel like there's a way for us to go about that instead of just filling negative space with an image, we are kind of like adding intensity to our message in this logo.
I don't want to like throw in more planetary ideas, but like I just feel like when I look at it, I don't like, obviously the word youth is there, but I'm just like thinking of like a symbol that I think of like that represents youth, and I feel like the rising sun idea is kind of cool, and like I have no idea how we would put that next to the fist. But if we're looking for like, you know, I guess other ideas, it's kind of like we're like on the horizon of like the next generation, and I think that could be a cool way to go, and somehow like putting the sun behind like a symbol of California or something could be cool. But I also think, of course, the fists kind of stand for empowerment and important parts of our commission, so I don't know. But I think something where, like, even if you didn't read the words, you, like, saw. Because I was looking at the Energy Commission symbol, and they have, like, a really big lightning bolt. So, like, I don't know. It feels like something to kind of, like, draw attention would be cool.
I think a little shining sun in there would be very cute. And it would kind of symbolize sunny California, but also a bright horizon, a bright morning. We are always looking forward to a better tomorrow, and so I think that might be a good kind of metaphor to add in there. Thank you for that. That's a great idea.
I'm not sure if we've considered the possibility of also, like option 1.A, making California bigger on this side to kind of take it. That's like that little awkward space that just keeps getting me. But like figuring out a way to expand the outline of the state that doesn't necessarily like make it look like one big line either, or that it looks like shrinking down. I don't want to say shrinking down the fist because that's just like mentally messes with me a little bit, but like just finding some way to make California take up a little bit more space so that both symbols accommodate each other.
Yeah, I agree with Adelina. Like, if we add another symbol, I feel like we would have the same issue with the stars. Like, it might be too many things in one area, so probably, like, adjusting how the fist and the California symbol look.
I think I have quite a hot take, but honestly, I liked option 1.A the best. I felt like that lack of anything in that upper left corner drew my eye, especially with the curve to the youth part more. And I felt like when I was looking at 1.B for both of the options, I was just distracted by, even in the one that doesn't have color, I felt like I couldn't figure out what was visually supposed to be the focus. And I think the whole point of making youth bigger and more bold was to draw attention to the fact that that is the core of our mission. And so I think that though we can find other symbols to encapsulate that, like the word youth is the most obvious thing that you could do. And so I quite personally like the negative space, but I think I am in the minority there. Yeah.
Also, to your point, Commissioner Sarah, I don't know if you guys can try and take out the stars in 1.B, but youth is larger in that option. So if it is larger, will that naturally take away some of that negative space in option 1.A? Is also something to consider.
I didn't notice it was larger.
Yeah, when I was first looking at it, I did like 1B, but then, as many of you guys mentioned, that you're like, now that I'm looking at it, it just looks like the three elements were just thrown in there, and I don't know where I'm looking anymore. So I do, now like further looking at them, I like 1A. The negative space also gets me, not gonna lie. So I don't know if that's like changing the sizing of certain elements. Maybe it's taking away the stars in 1B, because I didn't even notice youth was bigger in that one either.
Really quickly, I would like to engage one of our online commissioners. Commissioner Jocelyn, what are your thoughts on how these images would resonate with our younger demographic, like high school age youth? What are your thoughts?
Well, I really appreciate everyone's feedback. I think everyone is making great points, but I do want to sort of just echo the idea that it's important that youth doesn't get lost, and that I see that, for instance, for like option 1B, there's a lot going on, and so I want to make sure that, for instance, if we go with 1A, that we're making sure that that youth is sort of bolded as much as 1B is, and I just think it's important that the ideas that are really like significant to the commission and our values are not being lost with sort of the other aspects of the logo.
Thank you, Commissioner Jocelyn. Well, this is a new action item, a set of action items, and we won't be able to vote today, obviously, because we do not have quorum. But are there any other thoughts or comments from the commission about these logos, or do we want to try to develop more logos and have more discussion at our next meeting?
I can share from what I've captured so far that I'll take back to our comms team. For option 1A, if you all would like to see different variations of youth, larger, and though in the California and the fist resized to possibly take up some of that negative space. For option 1.B, don't kill me, some of you guys, but for those who like the clutter, add a variation with the sun or a horizon behind California and the fist as well. Does that sound?
I think for the sun one, I definitely don't think like adding a sun in there, but like maybe like just making the middle like a sun with like a California outline in front of it or something, and maybe with like a fist inside the California. I have no experience with like, but something like that where like, because I feel like the sun fits the circle shape kind of, so like something.
We will let
like
the
that.
comms team figure out how to add a horizon or sun in, but we want to see options of that.
I do also like the idea of just adding in a tiny little shining sun, but like behind the California logo that's like peeking out of the corner and kind of filling that spot where the stars are. And then making the fist a little bit smaller, maybe adding more. And just kind of balancing, I'm so sorry. Adding, like balancing the size of the California logo and the fist, I think might be helpful as well.
Yeah, it also sounds like we're fairly aligned on having a uniform color, but I would love to see it in uniform but a different color. Like, what would it look like in all orange or all green? Just to play with that.
Noted. Thank you. Are we good to move on to horizontal by common consent?
We shall move on.
Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, here we are with 3 variations of the horizontal option. There's more sparkles. In option number 1, we have just the sparkles with the fist in the state. Option number 2, the primary difference is the lines as well as those stars above those lines. Option number 2C are strictly the lines over the fist. Again, and I'm not sure if we want to start with the color, as that was discussed in the previous discussion. Do we want color in the horizontal option? And if so, which one speaks to you all the most?
I do think that this entirely depends on which logo we choose as our seal, because I think they should kind of be congruent in that way. Can we turn those lines into a sun? I am serious. I know I'm laughing, but this is so serious. I really do like the lines. I feel like it.
I'm sorry, Chair Pope, for 2C?
Oh, all of them. All the ones that have the lines.
Okay.
Yeah. I am not specifically ruling out any of these because I think that a lot of them are really great options. I love the stars just because it's artistic. It is still lost on me. I would like to hear from the team where the stars came from. I am so curious about what that is.
That was another option for the lines in that the first draft to capture the energy.
Ah, I see. Okay. Well, I do think that this logo should be in color of some kind if we are going to keep the seal as a more black and white image, just as a kind of more like uniform professional image for paperwork. This one as, our website where people are going to be able to access all of our resources. It should have more color. It should have more life to it. And it should be more motivating to look at. I feel like depending on the color scheme, it could be more motivating or less motivating. So that's something that we should reflect on. But what are the commission's thoughts on these logos? Does anyone have a
Really
preference?
quickly to your point, can we go to the next slide just for reference? So this is what the logo looks like in color on the website. It's hard to see. I'm not sure if we can get a closer look, but it's in that top left corner.
I'm very particular with my fonts and with not that I have issue with the font, but like with formatting of text. And in a similar way to the negative space in 1.A of the previous slide that kind of bugged me, the fact that it kind of gets smaller and less bolded as it goes on is kind of bothering me because it kind of feels like it's like shouting Youth Empowerment Commission. Like we're kind of like drawing back. Like we're getting more shy as it goes on.
Commission is so small.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I mean, I think it could go kind of anyway, but I like when, like, if empowerment and commission kind of are in the same kind of category, we want to make youth really big, then I would advocate for empowerment and commission to be relatively the same size and relatively the same bold.
As empowerment.
No, yeah, empowerment and commission being relatively the same size and relatively the same bold, or justified so that they take up the same amount of length with relatively the same amount of thickness. And then similarly for the color, I like meaning, and I feel like the way that the components have been chosen to be shaded different colors, I can't parse the meaning in any of the 2A, 2B, or 2C. Like usually maybe text is all together, like Youth Empowerment Commission might be one color, or because we're emphasizing youth is a different color, but like commission is always a different color. And then in some of them, youth and empowerment are the same, and then on the third one, it's all different. And I feel like that kind of messes with me. So for me, like I would prefer perhaps blocking out the two components to be the seal / the fists and state are one color and all the texts are a different color, and that would maybe look nice, but I don't know because it's not an option in front of us. But that's kind of the thoughts that go through my mind.
For the horizontal logo, the black and white version just looks dystopian. It definitely does. So I think that absolutely adding some color is necessary. One thing I am concerned about is readability for those of us who struggle with like sight and being able to read it. Some people struggle with color blindness, or they struggle with other forms of blindness. So it might be helpful to have it be in more of a bold or darker color. I know sometimes lighter colors can be harder to read. So that is something I would like to mention on the accessibility side of things.
Yeah, I think all really great points so far. Just to choose one from a design perspective, I think I prefer 2C. It's just a little more professional and clean. I think the stars are a little bit distracting in this context, but I like to keep that idea of like energy and youth, keeping this logo fresh, like, and the energy of us being youth, an aspect of the logo. But yeah, if I were to just throw an option out there, I like 2C the most. I don't care too much about the particulars of color and font, but that's just from a design perspective what I would recommend.
I agree.
Also, oh, sorry. Okay. I also really enjoy looking at 2C. I didn't even notice that like negative space, but now that Commissioner Aiden pointed it out, it's bothering me as well. So yeah, and then also I really like the idea of having the sun, because now seeing like the lines, having just like a little round sun, I really like that. I'm not sure how it would look once we actually see it, if that's possible, but I do really like that idea.
Commissioner Andrea, did you have thoughts?
Thank you. I agree with option 2C, and I would also like to see what it looks like to have youth commission. I feel like youth empowerment commission, like side by side, would kind of be too long. Not opposed to it, but I think youth commission pretty much gets the point across. And then on the official website, it says the California Youth Empowerment Commission. I was looking at other commission logos, at least horizontally on the website, and most of them it's like Energy Commission or like Youth Commission just makes sense. I'm personally not in favor of adding more logos or more drawings or more images to the fists and the state outline. I feel like to me, I kind of get distracted in like the clutter of it all. And I think the lines, even though there's no like exact like circle representing the sun, the lines to me in option 2C kind of look like the lines that would come out of the sun, like the light essentially. And I like that instead of there being a circle and then the lines representing the sun, that the lines come out of the state. And the state is kind of like the main point, like that's where the light is coming from. It's coming from us here in California. So I'm personally prefer option 2C, and then would love to see youth commission next to each other instead of youth and then commission under youth. But those are just my thoughts.
I second.
I agree. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jocelyn.
Thank you. I agree. I think 2C is the best option. I think it's nice and simple and gets the point across, but it's not too simple. And then I just wanted to sort of echo what Commissioner Aiden was saying. I think maybe if we sort of change the ratio of the sizing of the font for the other words, like making sure that youth is bigger, but then also sort of making empowerment and commission a little bit bigger as well, so that it's easy to sort of like read the words. But I really like 2C.
I agree. I only have one potential addition to add to that, and I really love the view of the fist, but I think that something that would make it a little bit more impactful is to add another fist. This is not a joke. What I'm saying is if you're looking at a crowd from perspective, the first fist will be larger, one behind it will be a little bit smaller, so kind of like a gradient in the size of the fist to make it look more like a crowd. So it won't really be adding a whole lot more to the image. It'll just make it a little bit more dynamic of an image, if that makes sense. Showing more of like the group that is empowered and the people who are gathering to have these conversations and kind of symbolize that. But I don't know if adding a little sun in there will make it look better. I really like the comments that Jocelyn and Andrea had made about just leaving it the way it is, because it looks like either it's light or just that it's power radiating from the fists and from the people, not necessarily the state. So I do really like option 2C as a color option. As Vice Chair Aiden had mentioned, commission needs to be bigger. I think that, one, its accessibility, readability is a factor here, but also just with the balance of the image, it might make it a little bit, it'll just remove that little bit of space on the bottom there. I don't know why it bothers me too.
Commissioner Andrea brought up an important point about removing empowerment. I would love to hear other commissioners' thoughts on the horizontal logo reading just as Youth Commission. How are folks feeling about that?
Yeah, I was comparing vertical and horizontal. And when you have like a horizontal logo, I'm thinking like the California flag, and it's a lot more colorful, and there's a lot more colors on it. Whereas like when I'm thinking vertical, I'm almost thinking like a sports logo. So honestly, I thought of like the Giants, San Francisco Giants and Los Angeles Dodgers logo. I'm a baseball person. It's literally just the letters. So I'm almost thinking like YEC when it's vertical, but when it's horizontal, like the California flag, it's a lot more colorful. So I honestly would like all the words on it, Youth Empowerment Commission. The sizing, definitely agreed, probably should be equal. But as far as like comparing vertical to horizontal, I think it's definitely something to think about. And I love the idea of colors going into the horizontal, because it reminds me of the California flag, which has more, it's got the red, it's got the bear, compared to the vertical, which I think is more of like a two-color thing, which is for like the Dodgers, blue and white. For the Giants, it would be just with the letters. So that's
Unrelated to what Commissioner McCarthy had just said, I do think it is important that we do maintain the word empowerment in there, just because that is our official name that was written into the legalese of our commission's creation. So as an identifier, it is unfortunately somewhat necessary for us to maintain that as part of our name and image, and have that reflected in our logo. I believe that just on, like, from a professional standpoint in the legislature, seeing as that's our identifier, it should be consistent on our website and on all of our logos and documents. But that is just my thought.
I was gonna say to follow up on Executive Director Tamisha's point, like, question, call me like any day of the week if you want to try to remove empowerment from our name, like officially, because as I've stated before at previous meetings, I do not like the word empowerment in our name, or used in, like, mission and vision statement stuff, because I think it is kind of implying a relational aspect of us giving youth power when they already have power. But I think to Chair Wednesday's point, as long as empowerment is in the official name of the commission, I think it unfortunately needs to remain in, like, the logos and both the seal and the horizontal. So unless it changes, which I will be the #1 supporter of, I think we have to keep it Youth Empowerment Commission.
I would be a huge proponent of changing it to just Youth Power Commission, but I don't know if that is possible. That would be an action item to follow up on, perhaps for a future vote, if it is possible. So.
Okay, let me see if I got this right. So for the horizontal version, it sounds like everyone's favoring 2C. Yes, okay. We would like to see a variation of, one, the font being consistently the same size, or it sounds like youth being bold and empowerment and commission being the same size or occupying the same amount of space. The logos, which are California and the fist, being one solid color, and text being one solid color as well. And then a possible version with the lines, which is capturing that energy as a sun. Is that right? Any other thoughts or feedback?
I was just gonna say, like, one last thing is I really like the kind of blue and gold theming of California. So like maybe a way to incorporate some sort of gold would be nice. But I know that orange is like one of the youth empowerment colors specifically, but I think like the meaning of the colors doesn't mean much to people who aren't in the commission, who don't know that we use that as like our theming, but like blue and gold would kind of, because we're not obviously putting the word California in there, like immediately call to the fact that it's California. Maybe that would just be making the California like gold as well, the little symbol or something.
Okay. Noted, thank you. Any other thoughts from commissioners prior to us ending this conversation?
And I would like to once again turn it over to Commissioner Jocelyn, just to check in about how do you think this will resonate with our younger demographic?
You know, I think in terms of the younger demographic, I feel like what all the commissioners have been saying, I feel like it doesn't make that much of a difference. I think everyone sort of has a similar opinion or idea on sort of our values of what we want in the logo, and I think that that will resonate with the younger demographic.
Thank you, Commissioner Jocelyn.
That concludes this discussion item. I'm going to pass it back to you, Chair Pope.
Thank you. We will now take any public comments related to this agenda item, the selection of our commission logo.
Thank you, Chair Pope. Just as a reminder, you may submit a virtual public comment card by visiting youthempowerment.ca.gov/meetings-events and completing the public comment form link there. You can also pick up an in-person comment card at the back of the room and return them to one of our staff members. You will need to submit a public comment card for each item you wish to speak on. Just noting at this time, we do not have any virtual or in-person public comments. Thank you. Back to you, Chair Pope.
Thank you. At this time, we will take a 10-minute recess. We will return at 10:56 a.m.